Hello everyone, it is Sunday, August 24th, 2025. This is just an update as to what has been going on with the house and layout and everything, and some stuff that's coming up in the future for this channel. We're going to first take a look here. This is the one end of the basement where I'm going to be putting in my art studio. There's not too much I need to do here other than get the non-art stuff out of here, but this is where I'm going to be setting up shop for doing my oil paintings and everything. I've got room in one of the extra bedrooms upstairs where I'm going to be putting the finished paintings so they're out of the way and safe and sound, and not taking up space down here as I do my paintings. Make it a little nicer for framing them upstairs and everything, and just do the actual paintings down here. So this is coming up here. Originally wanted to have the easel over backed up against the paneling here, but unfortunately there's furnace ducts up above which are kind of interfering with the top of the easel, so as well as the light that's clipped onto the easel. So I'm just going to put it over there. There's a shower curtain that I found that has a nice design, photo-like design on it that hasn't actually been used, it looks like, but I might put that up behind on the wall. That way I can have like a nice little background instead of the plain gray cinder blocks. They're painted, but you know, be a little bit nicer than just a plain background. So, but that's what's happening with the art studio. We're going to move along here to the room on the other side of the wall here, and this is we made this into a fruit cellar in the early to mid 80s. This used to be open. This is where one of the early layouts that I had was located, and we turned this into a storage and fruit cellar room. Basically, what's basically staying in here is those shelves there along that wall, as well as that set of shelves there. This middle section, bottom shelves are going to be going away, because I want to run the staging yard through this wall into the other room where the main layout's going to be. This shelf is going to be moved up, so that way I can have a little bit more clearance above the layout, because right now it's only like going to be a few inches above the layout, which is not going to be much room for getting to the my track ladders or yard ladders for the switches and everything. So I want to be able to you know, have easier access to those. And then like the Christmas stuff, I'm going to do like what I did down in Hilliard at the house down there, or the townhouse down there, and have that stuff nicely organized on the other side of the staging yard on the floor. Obviously anything on the floor is going to be in plastic tubs in case of water getting in or anything like that. And then that way you know, stuff's going to be stored back here, but it's going to be easily pulled out if necessary. So, or for like when Christmas comes and I have to get the tree and stuff out, to get that all taken care of. Same with that shelves there. Basically the shelves on that side of the staging yard are going to be stuff that I don't get out regularly or need access to regularly, so like storage boxes, stuff like that. Whereas these shelves over here, you know, I've got food over here from like a pantry area here, and then I've got my beer bottles and kegs and everything, so that way I've got everything all together over here for food stuff, cases of water, that kind of thing. So but anyways, like I said, I'm going to put an opening in the wall to bring the staging yard through. I was originally going to do a tiny hole, basically just to pull this one track through. Problem with that is trying to get that lined up through the wall, through that small opening. It's going to be a pain in the butt to do that. And what I want to do is basically this is good. Take this shelf off. I'm going to put another section, either 4.5 foot or 5 foot section, depending on how much room I've got. Once I get this, put this through the wall, and then move the legs back, so that way this end of the layout is going to just slide through this opening that I'm going to put in and connect to the other layout. That way I don't have to worry about, you know, special track work or putting it together a special section or anything. I can just slide this end through. The legs I can move back a little bit further along the layout section. That way I can easily you know, get the layout through the wall opening and connect to the rest of the staging area as well. So advantage of that is staging tracks are going to be all 5 of the staging tracks are going to be either 4.5 foot or 5 foot longer than what they have been, which is going to be nicer because that's going to be more yard capacity as well as longer trains between the staging yards. So that was always one negative part about when the layout was down to Hilliard, was the staging yard tracks are just so short for any kind of decent sized train other than like 5 cars and a caboose. So, but that's going to extend that a little bit, which will make it nicer. Of course, I got the shelves for off layout storage before I take stuff off the layout here at the Cleveland staging yard. And of course, I'll go in operations stuff more on that. A lot of this stuff is stuff that's going to be moved, like the up on top, the test track that's going to go out to the workbench, which I'll show you here in a minute. These foam pool noodles, those I'm going to be using to add cushioning for where I go underneath the layout. So there's instead of a hard edge, there's going to be a little bit of padding on the edges where I duck under the layout to get to the inside. There's two pairs of electrical receptacles in here. One was used as a backup for in case of a power outage when the fridge and freezers were in here. Basically, that one is going to be moved over to the other side of the wall for in the art studio area, and that's going to get tied into one of the electrical lines over by the sub pump. And then this one here, since I'm not going to be doing much in here, I just need leave the 2 working outlets in here then for if I ever need them. So, but that's what's going to be happening in here. So we'll go ahead and come back out here. This is another spot that's going to be getting updated too. This is the fridge and chest freezer that I got with the house. Right now they're running on extension cords, which I know you're not supposed to run major appliances like that on extension cords, but I needed freezer space, so I had to get them running, so these is only temporary. Keys Electric, who did the electrical work in the garage up to the house in town, they are going to be coming out here doing all this electrical work and getting stuff updated. They're going to be doing a new circuit that's going to come out, have an outlet come out here for the fridge and freezer, so that way they can have their own circuit and breaker switch on the electrical panel. So, but that's another project that's coming up here too. Because Keys Electric's also going to be doing a lot of electrical work upstairs. There's a lot of 2-prong outlets upstairs from the 70s that never got updated, as well as outlets that were updated to 3-prong outlets, but they were never properly grounded. So that's going to get corrected too. And then over here, this used to actually be the original family room of the basement, which is why it has a different ceiling than the rest of the basement. It's right where I'm standing is where the wall used to be. We took that, like I said, we took this out in the early to mid 80s and then that's when we made the fruit cellar there on the other side. This is where the layout's going to go. These outlets, they're 3-prong outlets, but they're all open ground, which needs corrected like upstairs. And then the layout's going to be going in here. There's new lighting that's going to be going in here, because right now that light's off, but that light and this light, for years when the old layout was down here, that was the only light that was down here in this room, except for like maybe a floor lamp when I was home from college or something. And you know, that's not enough light for laying up this big of a room or big of an area. And so there's new shop lights. Basically, we're going to do 4-foot shop lights like what we did out in the garage up there at the other house in town. I was wanting to do them parallel to each other, but the thing is, this ceiling is drywall, although these beams are solid. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 4-foot shop lights, but we're going to do them on these beams, which will be nice and solid to anchor them to. And we're going to put them end to end, 2 of them end to end, evenly spaced across that beam there, there, and then the second to last beam down there. So they're going to be going across, 2 of them end to end going across, but they're going to be then spaced apart every other beam. So there's going to be 6 shop lights down here total to light up this room, which will make it nice and bright, a lot better than what it has been in the past. So, but plus having a finished ceiling above the layout, that's going to be nice too. That's going to help with dust and everything. And the other thing too with down here, and this is the reason why the staging yard's going into the Cleveland, or into the fruit cellar room. This layout is slightly longer than what we have room for down here, because basically what's going to happen is by putting the staging yard in there, that's going to allow this section of the layout, or this end part of the layout, to get expanded. Basically over there where that gap is there, that's a little over 4 foot there, and then you come down here and you still have just over 2 feet here on this end of the layout. So that's going to allow me to put another 5-foot section in over there, but on that yard section that's 10 tracks across. And that's going to expand not only the main line, but it's going to expand the yard capacity of both of those yards over there. On this side, there's going to be another 5-foot section that goes between this corner section, and this is where the yard lead goes into the main line. There's a double crossover underneath the diorama that I've got sitting here on the layout right now. But that's going to expand this yard lead to make it a little easier, or a little bit more room for pulling cars out of the yard to do switching and stuff, so on this end you're less likely to have to go out on the main line, block traffic to switch cars in and out. And then the Columbus staging yard, I'm going to put another 5-foot section in there too. That's going to extend that staging yard to increase that yard capacity too. Like with the Cleveland staging yard, I'll be able to have longer trains to go in and out of the staging yards. So it's going to help improve operations and capacity and everything. With the longer yard capacities, and then I've got the shelves in there where the off layout storage is going to be. That's going to make it easier for you know, all the rolling stock that I've got, because one of the problems I had down Hilliard was I had so much rolling stock that it's running out of space to store stuff off the layout as well as on the layout. So another thing too I'm going to be doing down here, It's got 3 different fire extinguishers, as well as a kitchen fire extinguisher that came with this one fire extinguisher. Basically, I'm going to put fire extinguishers at both ends of the basement, one in the art studio area, and then one over here, over where the light switch for the shop lights that are going in. I'm going to mount one over here too. That way there's fire extinguishers at both ends of the layout. I'm also going to do the third one in the fruit cellar area, so that way, you know, there's plenty of fire extinguishers, because, you know, this foam board and then the bench work, you know, that stuff's flammable, so anything would happen, you know, I'd rather have, you know, I'd like to have fire extinguishers to be able to get out of here if needed. Then of course kitchen fire extinguisher, that's going to go upstairs in the kitchen. But like I said, then Keys Electric's going to put a light switch in over here. By extending the layout over here, it's going to come up to about here, which you might think would be interfering with going into the rest of the basement. But yeah, remember this one corner is kind of cut off, so I'll still be able to get in and out here. It's not going to be too tight, I don't think, but it'll allow me to get in and out still without having to duck under to get to the washer and dryer and the rest of the basement. And then, of course, you know, if I need to get stuff in and out, like big stuff like the washer and dryer or anything, I can always take the corner off and then be able to get stuff in and out pretty quickly. Then these tables, the long table here, that's going to be my dispatcher's table, and that's going to be placed end to end with this smaller table, which is going to be my workbench. And those are going to be along this side here, up alongside the layout, once the layout's in position. That way I can you know, have a dispatcher's desk here with my old Macintosh like I was planning up to the house up in town, and then as well as my workbench. And I think it's going to work out good. And then right now these temporary or display easels, I'm using those for supporting the layout corner sections, which is what's holding up this one corner section right now, because otherwise it would fall over if it wasn't supported by that display easel there. So, but yeah, I think this is going to work out nice. Obviously a much different layout than what was in here last time. I had a layout down here, so but thankfully my brother was able to help me get these layout sections down here, because that saved a lot of time and headache for me. So, but yeah, it's going to be exciting getting stuff up and running again. Fortunately, the other nice thing too with the layout sections that are getting put in, or the new sections that I'm going to be putting in, they're basically going to be straight through sections. There's no special trackage like curves or switches. It's just straight connecting track across the top. Same with the wiring down underneath, so they should go together pretty quickly as I put the layout back together and get everything up and running. Main thing right now with the layout is, you know, getting the wiring or getting lighting put in, getting the wire electrical outlets corrected, and then I need to find like this liquid nails for projects, I think it was, that I used for this. I got to find some kind of adhesive that's good for foam board to help re-secure the layout foam board where the layout sections have pulled loose a little bit, to get that corrected and everything. So one other thing I did too, since I'm out of Mansfield, Ohio, Mansfield didn't actually have an Amtrak sign, but I got this from transitsigns.com. They make these nice aluminum Amtrak station signs. This is one of the retro ones with the old Amtrak Point Lucero logo. But I got this one custom done, which is like $10 more than the existing stations to have it made for the town that I model. So this is basically a mimic of a station sign that I've got, and I'm going to be putting on the Amtrak station on the layout. Another thing too And this is where they pay attention to detail. Back in the era that I model, the states abbreviations, if it's a one-name state like Ohio or Indiana, first initial was capitalized, second initial was lowercase. If you go on their website, they have both letters uppercase, which may, in later years they did that, but usually in my era that I model, they only did both letters capitalized if it's a two-lane state like New Mexico, New York, West Virginia, something like that. So, but they emailed me when I placed my order asking if I was sure about the lowercase h for the state abbreviation, just to make sure that the details was right on the order. And I looked on station signs. I even checked on through some pictures I've got, the station sign up to Fostoria. It was capital O and lowercase h. So, so this is fitting right from my era that I model. But yeah, I figured, saw this online, and I saw their signs online, and I was like, you know, that'd be nice to create a little bit more atmosphere for down here for the layout and everything. So then of course get the layout up and running, and then have my dispatcher's desk and workbench going and everything. And it's going to be a nice area. So that covers the area updates for down here in the basement. We're now going to switch over after I switch my battery, because the battery's getting low. And we're going to go out to the garage and backyard, and I'm going to show you the exciting developments of what's going on out there. Alright, so this is the next update that we've got coming up. Or it's actually going to be a video series I'm wanting to put together for here on the channel. And if you haven't guessed it by now, these are beehives. If you remember back, or if you go back to one of my videos from 2018, this is friends of mine. It's on the video for Red Dog Ranch, and I got introduced to the amazing world of beekeeping that some friends of mine had taken up, Dan and Christy. And anyways, I've been fascinated by the subject since then. And unfortunately, you know, living in Hilliard at the time, and then when I was living in Bucyrus, in town, you know, in town it's kind of hard to raise bees without having problems for neighbors and that kind of thing. But now that I'm out in the country, I've got a room out back, which I'm going to be showing here in a little bit, and I'm going to be taking up beekeeping. So it's about 3 weeks ago, I went up. It's just north of Bellevue, a little place called Cherry City Honey Farm and Apiary. Honey Farms and Apiary is what they're called. It's a little shop up there. They have a lot of bee products, and they have these nicely made beehives. Basically, what you're looking at here, you have the base, or the bottom board, which has the landing area for where the bees come and go from the hive. You have the hive, or the entrance reducer, to restrict bees going in and out. Then you have the two deep boxes, and these are 10 frame boxes. So take the top off, and those are going to basically, these are the two deeps are where the queen basically sets up her brood chamber, which is where she makes all new bees for the colony. And these frames are already, they've already got the foundation on them, so those are ready to go. And then of course you got the vented top here on top then for that. In addition to that, they also came with 2 medium boxes, and these are the honey supers, where the bees will be making their honey. You have a top feeder board, which goes underneath the ceiling. This is actually not part of the hive, but anyways, you got a top feeder board here, where what's going to happen is these are actually they're entrance feeders that they sell. Now these go on the front of the hive where that landing board or the bottom board is, there at the entrance. You can put them in there. Thing is, that leaves these jars. This is where you put in your sugar water, syrup, whatever you're using to feed your bees for when it's low pollen time. And then they are able to get the sugar or syrup out of the holes in the lid. Anyways, you put that in there, turn it upside down, then the suction keeps it from draining out, and then they just lick out the food out of that. Thing is, with these entrance feeders, what happens is I've got raccoons and possums out back. My neighbor's seen them too. Plus, you know, if there's any coyotes or foxes or anything like that. So to keep this safe, what I'm going to do is, where the top feeder is up here, these jars fit right down in that hole. So now the bees can feed from inside the hive. This also prevents robbing, where other hives are going to come in and steal food from the entrance area or entrance feeders. This is an empty deep box on top. I probably could have gotten away with a medium, which I'm probably going to do on future hives that I get from them. And then I can then the lid goes on top, and that prevents, that way the food is in here protected from any other animals, that kind of thing. So in addition to the hives and the feeders, I also got another smoker. I'm probably going to get a second smoker just to have an extra one as a backup. This is a hive hanger. I got, if you watched my video from when I visited Dan and Christy, when Dan had the frames out, he was hanging them, or he was putting them down on the hive stand, and they were laying them against the outside of the hive. What this does, this allows you to hang the frame outside of the box, so that way, you know, you don't have to worry about smashing bees or egg bugs or anything getting on the frame or anything, and then putting the frame back inside and taking any bugs or anything back in with it. So, and that's going to take care of that, or help out with that for when I go do my hive inspections. Of course, I got a hive tool for pulling the frames loose and scraping any propolis or beeswax and stuff around on the hives. And I got the brush for if I need to remove bees from my frame or something, I can, or from off my clothes or something, I can just brush them off with that. So still got other equipment that I need to get, but this is definitely a nice start in the beginning. One thing I'm going to be doing here in the near future, got a gallon of white paint to paint the hives, because obviously these are going to be out in the weather. So I need to put some protection on these to make them last longer. So this is it's a paint and primer that I'm going to be putting on it. So, and then I got these foam brushes. These are going to come in handy not only for painting the hives, but I can use these for down my art studio as well. And these are good foam brushes. I got these off of eBay. They're packs of 48 for like 20 bucks. And these are the good foam brushes. They're nice stiff foam, not the cheap flimsy foam that falls apart when you go to use it. So that's going to help out there. But that's the look at my hives. Now we'll go back and, well, actually, another thing too, I just noticed here on the floor. These are the, I got 4 of the 4x4 beams. These are 6-foot length beams. These are going to be used for my hive stands out back. Basically combine those with cinder blocks, and then I'm going to make hive stands out of that. Basically each stand is going to be holding 2 hives. I think it's, I forget where I read, here in Ohio you're allowed to have 12 hives per acre. I've got a little over 1 1/4 acres, so that's going to be about 15 and a half hives, or might as well say 16 hives. But each stand, I'm going to start off with 2, and each stand is going to hold, it can hold up to 3 or 4 hives, but I'm going to space them out so that way they're not crowded. Then the extra space too, that's going to give me some room to, you know, when I go to work the hives, I can set the boxes on the stand and not on the ground, like I said, so that way I don't have to worry about pests or anything getting in, and getting tracked back into the hive when I put the hive back together. So, but yeah, I'm really getting excited about seeing all this starting to come together, because it's something I've been wanting to get into for several years now, ever since I was down visiting my friends, and so seeing everything starting to come together is just really awesome. So, so I'm going to stop the camera for a second. We're going to go out back, and I'll show you what's going on with the actual apiary or bee yard, where everything's going to be going. And one side note I almost forgot to mention too, I also got 2 queen excluders for my hives. Basically, when the bees are doing honey production, that's going to go between the deep boxes and the honey supers. And what that, basically the queen is, she will not be able to fit through these slots. So what's going to happen is they'll keep her down in the brood chambers, where we need her to be laying eggs and producing bees. And then the other bees, they will be coming up to the top part of the hive in these honey supers to produce the honey. That way the queen doesn't come up into these honey supers and start laying eggs in the honey, or where we're trying to harvest honey. So that's what the queen excluder is for. Important thing to remember with this is, once we get into the fall, once we get into start getting into colder weather, bees need to come off, because the bees will cluster up in the upper part of the hive, and if the queen is trapped below this and can't get up with the rest of the cluster, she will freeze and die off, and then the hive will slowly die off. So very important tip there about the queen excluders. But that's what those are for too. I almost forgot to mention that with the other hive equipment. So, but now on to the backyard and where the apiary is going to be. Alright, so now we're back at the back of the property where the bee yard is going to be going in. And basically, it's roughly where we used to have a vegetable garden back years ago, back when Mom was doing all kinds of canning and everything. This side of the flower beds basically is right where the garden, this end of the garden used to be. For years it used to go down the other, a bit closer to the field, but then it got smaller as time went on. But I actually moved the garden, or moved the bee yard up this way, about right in here is where it used to be. And you can actually see down this way where the garden kind of got, it actually used to be, it used to actually extend down this way. But what I wanted to do was move it closer to the house, because in the morning, basically you want your hives to get as much sunlight as they can in the mornings and the early afternoon. So basically I shifted it this way so that way it's a little bit more out from the shade of the tree here, which I don't really want to get rid of the tree because the tree's been here for years, ever since the house was built. So, but in the morning the hives are going to get plenty of sunshine down here, out here away from the house and out in the open here. And in the afternoon, as you can see, you got the shade from the trees coming down to help cool things back down, to make it nice. But basically what I did was I measured out where the yard was going to be, and I extended it out by about 4 feet. And a friend of mine from high school, he was nice enough to come out with his tractor, which had a tiller on the back, and he tilled all 4 sides of where the flower beds are going to be. Basically, I got from TSC, I went and got 4 big bags of perennial wildflower seed mix, 1 bag for each side of the bee yard, and then I went to Lowe's and got some other perennial flowers like coneflowers, lavender, daisies, black-eyed Susans, and blanket flowers, I think was the other ones I got. And I sprinkled some of those in as well to mix in with was already in the seed mix. So got that planted 7 weeks ago yesterday, and as you can see, it's already growing back in pretty nice with where the garden used to be. It's a lot of grass is growing in right now, although there's a lot of flowers and stuff that are other stuff that's growing in, which you can kind of see there. So there's a lot of flowers and stuff that's going to be hopefully growing in here shortly to blend in with the grasses that's growing in out here. But basically what this is going to do, it's not only going to provide some food for in the immediate area for the bees, it's also going to have provide a kind of a safety barrier for my visitors, for anybody coming to the bee yard to visit, so that way they don't get in right around the bees and hives. That's one of the reasons why the garden mats are laid out, and that's because I don't want to have to mow inside the apiary around where the bees are going to be, to avoid disturbing them. You can do it, but you have to do it really fast, and on that type of an area it's going to be hard to do it really fast with mowing to keep away from them. So basically keep the mowing outside here to make it not as disturbing as with the bees. That's one of the reasons why since getting the house, I have been restricting my mowing to like every other weekend instead of every weekend, to kind of get into the pattern of, making it a little bit more pleasant out here for the bees and everything. But yeah, you can obviously see that there's stuff other than grass that's growing out here, which is going to be really nice. It's going to be a nice decorative barrier too, with the wildflowers and stuff like that. So, and with purple coneflowers and lavender, that's going to be kind of a nice little tribute to my mom too, because Mom was crazy about flowers and stuff. Every spring we used to bring home trays of marigolds and geraniums and stuff and plant them around the house and everything. So, so she was always doing that. But and then I'm also going to get some signs up, just a warning sign for each side of the apiary, to warn people, because I know my neighbor, he, every once in a while he'll have family members over, and sometimes they'll have small kids, and if little kids get curious and they see these boxes sitting out here, they're going to come over and start wondering what's going on, and I don't want them getting too close to the hives and getting stung or anything. So, but yeah, my neighbor he is aware of them putting bees out here, and he's cool with it too. So, and as you can tell, you know, we're a ways back from the houses too, so it shouldn't be much of an issue. If anything, you know, his flower beds up around the house might see some extra visitors and stuff. With my bees going up there and around the houses and everything. But of course, you know, bees, they can easily go a couple miles away from the hive foraging for food. So that's going to be helpful for this whole area too, when you think about it. Also, I have talked to one of the farmers, the farmer that owns this field here, the cornfield. Well, it's currently corn right now. My dad used to drive truck for them, and they said they would be happy to let me know when they go to spray the field, so that way I can make sure the bees are closed up and safe and sound before they start spraying, because obviously you don't want the bees out and about when farmers are spraying, and you know, that would easily kill the bees, and so keeping them in the hives is pretty important when they're doing that. So anyways, the other farmer for this bean field here and then across the road, he lives just down the road, and he was friends with my dad as well, so I can easily get in touch with him to let me know when he does any spraying out here too. And so basically what I wanted to do, as I said, the hive stands are going to be holding 2 hives each. They're going to be 6 foot long, and there's a loud jet flying over. Competing with the, I don't know if it's airline or military or what. I can hear it, I can't see it. Oh, there it goes. Way up there. Anyways, so I'm basically going to do 2 hive stands end to end. So they're going to be 12 foot end to end, and put 2 stands there, 2 stands there, 2 stands here, and then 2 stands here. So there's going to be 2 rows. They're going to be spaced enough apart that they shouldn't interfere with each other. And then there's going to be 8 hives per row, 4 on each side of this center aisleway then. And that should make it easy for me to get in and work the hives and everything, and take care of stuff in here. So I am really looking forward to when I get my bees out here and get going with that, because you know, like I said, something I've been wanting to do for years, ever since I was down to visit some friends of mine. And you know, this is going to be a really fun thing, I think. Too. It's going to be a learning experience. So I've got friends at work that are interested in what happens with this, and like I said, my neighbor's interested too, to see what happens too. And then obviously family members too. When I was at the family reunion, I brought it up about what I was doing out here, and got into a pretty good discussion with several family members about, you know, taking up beekeeping out here and everything. So it'd be nice to, little conversation piece for that, for family reunions too. So, but one other thing too I'm going to do is get a couple bird baths put out here. The reason that last row isn't completely covered with the garden mat is because I accidentally ran out, because I forgot I'd taken material out for the entrances to the apiary. So that last row kind of ran out, so, but those green areas there in the corners, those will be good for putting out bird bass and then keeping those filled with, I'm going to put some stones in them so that way the bees can have a landing area to drink water from, and that way they have a nice supply of water out here and everything. So in addition to the cinder blocks I'm getting for the hive stands I'm going to be putting out here, I'm also going to be putting them around the borders of the garden mat to help basically hold that down. Everything's holding down right now with the stakes, where I've basically staked the mats down. But, you know, if we get a good wind out here, you know, the wind goes underneath the mats, that's going to rip those mats right up. So what I'm wanting to do is get some cinder blocks to put around the perimeter to help with keeping everything in place. And what I'm wanting to do with that then is have them turned so that the open sides are facing upward, and then fill the holes with potting soil, and then I can use that to plant some flowers in there as well to kind of add some more flowers and stuff out here for the annuals and stuff, because those will be easier for me to switch flowers out of at the end of the year than trying to figure out which is flowers, which is the grass and weeds growing up in the flower beds around the apiary. But yeah, once stuff starts blooming out here, I think it's going to be really pretty out here with the flower beds. As you can see on these, because these are not native or from the garden. These are obviously from the flower seeds I planted. I'm not sure exactly what they are. There's those, and there's some fern stuff, and all kinds of, really, every time I come out here I'm seeing something new coming up. So it's going to be interesting to watch how this progresses and as stuff starts blooming. There's some flower stuff that's starting to bloom or sprout that looks like miniature daisies almost. So like right there. There you go. Looks almost like miniature daisies on that one. There's a bunch of those all around in the flower beds too. So that's going to be really neat to see. And then from what I've read online, a lot of the flowers that I've got picked for out here, that the seeds I put down, those have seeds of their own that they spread. So there's hopefully going to be even more as the time goes on. So, but yeah, it's going to be nice and peaceful out here. It's away from the houses, so obviously, when it comes to mowing, it's only a small area back here, so I can mow this pretty quickly to basically get in and out of the hives areas and get the mowing done without disturbing them. So, but as you saw though in that video I did, honeybees are relatively pretty docile, so although I've heard of other beekeepers say that, you know, they've got docile bees, but you strap a mower around them and they kind of get defensive. But so that's why I try to keep the mowing to a minimum and then do it as quick as I can when I'm out here. So try and get in that pattern so that way I can make it nicer for the bees and everything. So anyways, so this is what's going to be coming up next spring, which you folks will be looking forward to, hopefully. So I know I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try and do videos of, you know, when I get the bees. Thinking I'm going to do a pair of nukes. I'm going to start off with 2 hives, as you saw in the garage, just so that, you know, start small so it's not overwhelming, and because I want it to be fun. I don't want to get overwhelmed, have it become a chore and lose interest or anything. So but I'm going to start with, I think, nukes instead of actual packaged bees. Packaged bees, you don't really know exactly where they're importing them from, and whereas nukes, I can get, there's a couple suppliers from around here in this area that I've seen online that they sell nukes, which that means the bees are going to be accustomed to Ohio's winters, because if you get packaged bees, they possibly will come from like Georgia or California, and they won't. It's going to make it harder for them to adjust to Ohio's winters. So, but just stuff I'm having to watch out for as I look online for where to get everything. So, but anyways, that's the updates with the art studio, the layout, and soon the beekeeping. So hopefully other videos will come up as time progresses. I know I've got some ideas for movie reviews too. I'm going to do as time permits. So anyways, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.